Okay, this is a quick guide to how to answer an AO1 8-mark question for the Edexcel Religious Studies AS papers. Again, this is an 8-mark question, and all of the marks are for demonstrating AO1. An AO1 answer shows knowledge and understanding, specialist language, and terminology when responding to the question. At the bottom I place the information that is necessary from the spec, which is that you need to show a wide range of knowledge, sophisticated language, address a range of ideas or beliefs and beliefs, and show depth to your understanding, which is a big demand in an 8-mark question, but we really don't know what this will look like until we've had a couple of years of students entering their ideas. So what you're about to see is the best picture we can give you at this stage. But anyway, down here, just remember that this is the mark scheme information. The next thing we should do then is to start to look at the question wording. So we can see that we're going to want to use the phrase key ideas, and we're going to want to address in our introduction what religious experience actually is. Whenever you introduce something, you in a sense provide a brief but relevant definition. So I think that will be the likely starting point for our answer here. So first of all, I'm going to talk you through the style of how to answer this question, and after that I'll give a specific example. I recommend starting with something that is akin to an introduction, but it won't be separated from the rest of your answer anymore, as it might be in an extended answer, because you only have a very short amount of space. So you will need to give an introduction which provides the important definition needed. Here it will be for religious experience, uses keywords where possible, and addresses the specific nature of the question so that straight away you're putting the examiner at ease and showing them that you have understood exactly what your answer needs to address. After the brief introduction, you need to provide explanatory paragraph 1, which should explain several key ideas and refer to a key scholar. And I'd like to suggest that you imagine in your head that this paragraph will worth roughly 4 marks connected with the introduction, and that the second paragraph can get you your further 4 marks. I'm not suggesting here that you actually have an introduction that's truncated from the first paragraph. Actually, these are now joined up. I just mean that the first sentence or two does the job that the introductions suggest there in blue. In an extended essay, you would truncate the introduction, that is, have it in a separate paragraph, but not in these short 8 and 9 mark questions across the AS and the A2. The next thing you'll need to do then is to provide explanatory paragraph 2, developing further into the key ideas. Now, what this means is, if you've given some brief explanation in the first paragraph, then paragraph 2 should go to the next level of depth where possible. So, for example, in this question, if you're talking about varieties of religious experience in the first paragraph, then in the second paragraph you might talk specifically about the marks of religious experience mentioned by someone like William James. I've also mentioned that you should, where possible, refer to a second scholar. In some 8 and 9 mark AO1 questions, it will be a secondary scholar who contributes to the discussion. And on other occasions it might be that you suggest them as a slight contrast, but it would depend on the question wording. That's not giving an opinion on them as a contrast. That's simply saying, for example, if it were utilitarianism, you could say another scholar is John Stuart Mill, having already mentioned Bentham, for example. And the final thing I'm going to recommend is just to check that in a good answer you will use the question wording in your introduction, and ideally again later, just so that the examiner can see that you're always targeting your response to their exact question. Now I'm going to, which I won't do for every question, but I'm going to provide a quick model answer to this explore the key ideas about the nature of religious experience, which should follow the style that I just recommended. Okay, here's my introduction, which, as you'll see, I won't truncate, I'll carry straight on afterwards, but it introduces the idea of religious experience with a brief definition, suggests that they are complex to understand and that there's a wide variety, and use the question wording of key ideas as well. So we've got the definition, key ideas, and question wording straight away, and now I need to move on to the first explanation. Okay, and I'm relying on the exemplar material to produce some of this, just so that we can be sure. But here's the first explanatory paragraph. Some religious experiences are private, others are public. They may affirm or lead to a conversion. Religious experiences are not always direct, but they do lead to a change or develop understanding of God. And then we've got the first key scholar here, who is the seminal writer on religious experience. William James argued that conversion often produces fruits. These are the positive outcomes of conversion that benefit a person's life. An example of such a transformation might be that of Saul on the Damascus Road in Acts. Okay, as you can see now, I've completed the second explanatory paragraph. Let's look at, I've been advising you to underline some of the key words. So what would we be underlining here? James identified 4 marks of mystical religious experiences. They help us to understand the nature of profound religious experience. Passivity, the experience is not always in control. Ineffability, noetic, and transiency. So we're saying to the examiner, look, give me 4 marks for this section because I've shown that I understand all these things. How can you not? An example of all 4 of these, I had to think hard. I think that Van Reynolds' experience would work here. You might want to choose one of your own, whose near-death experience also involved the numinous experience as she felt awe and wonder, so that's explained as well. I'm convinced that this deserves a great deal. The I at the end is just a typo, and I've got my 2 key scholars as well, Otto and James. So there we have it. That's an example for you of how to answer 8 marks. And remember, you're aiming to complete this in 8 minutes. Okay, I hope that's useful to you. Good luck.